On today's episode of Gathering the Kings.
There's so many ways you can go get into real estate. You can become a real estate agent. I mean, there's just so many different aspects of it.
Right.
There's a piece that can fit for anybody if you want to.
You are listening to Gathering the Kings with Chaz Wolfe, featuring fellow 7, 8, and even 9-figure business owners who have real battle scars from business and life, but have prevailed as the king that they are designed to be. We welcome high-performing entrepreneurs to the stage in order to reveal the real of the real on what it takes to build a successful business today. We dissect the good and bad decisions they've made along the way that give a true and accurate picture of the journey of success and how you too can get there. Through this dialogue, you will learn the value of growing your network and surrounding yourself with power players and kings like today's guest. Grab your pen and notebook because we're about to dive in.
What's up, everybody? Chaz Wolfe, Gathering the Kings podcast. I've got Lou Talamantes here on the King stage today. My brother, how you doing?
Hey, Chaz, doing great. Thanks for having me. Such a blessing. Thank you.
Yeah, man, we are blessed to have you. So I love our approach. We were just chatting, off air a little bit, and you were asking about best ways to bring value. Not every single one of my guests is intentional about bringing value. I mean, I think everybody wants to bring value, but you were asking, how can I bring the value? So this is going to be a great show. I just appreciate your attentiveness to those things, but tell us what kind of business or businesses rather do you have?
Yeah, Chaz, absolutely. So I'm actually a full-time house flipper. I've been flipping houses for about 4 years now. We're doing around 15 to 20 flips per year. We, let's see. So we started this approach with doing it with foreclosures when we started out, and then soon after realized that business plan was not going to work. We need to go back to the drawing board, and so we
Sure.
did, and we built a business plan that didn't focus on foreclosures. Yeah, so that's what we're doing now. And then just recently, we just partnered with some friends who are in the multifamily space. And so we just started reviewing deals, and hopefully we'll be closing on our first deal here soon. So
Love that.
that's a little bit about what I do.
Yeah, I love obviously the real estate space. We were talking about this off air as well, but just how creative you can be, different types of deals, obviously different asset classes. You can be whoever you want to be. It's fantastic. So I'd love to hear just real brief about, fix and flipping. Obviously that's your main, and then your desire for multifamily. What drew you to those types of businesses, if you will?
Sure. So the flipping side of the business, what I started in real estate when I was really young. Actually, I bought my first rental when I was really young, and then soon after I joined the military and became a long distance landlord.
Yeah.
And that kind of what started the ball for me in real estate. And and then after I left the military and I was working in the corporate world and stuff like that, I started buying more single family home rentals. And I actually never even heard about flipping until 4 years ago, 4.5 years ago. And I kind of stumbled upon it. I came across a foreclosure, and I thought, you know what, this would be pretty cool to fix this house up and sell it, because it won't work as a rental. And I did, and just fell in love with it. I just loved every aspect of it, and thought, you know what, I can do this. I can start a business from this. And so, yeah, I mean, there's just so much. You mentioned there's just so many things about real estate. You can take different approaches. And so I just fell in love with being able to structure the business in the way I wanted. And so that's kind of why I did it.
I love the autonomy really is what you're coming after. And I think everybody listening can relate to that in their own right with their own business, that's why we're in business. Is we wanted
Right.
to do our own thing. We wanted to create our own rules. And so obviously I want to dig into some of the things that you've done and some of the systems and stuff that you've used. But before we do that, I want to know at this level, obviously, I mean, you don't doing 20 flips a year, you're making incredible money. You're doing the thing. But now you're even looking into multifamily. You're not done. You just told me off air you were kind of scouring Facebook Marketplace and looking at another property just around the corner to buy. Like, why are you still after it, even at this point in the game?
Well, there's two parts to it. I'll tell you the first part, which is you always hear, especially in this at this level, you hear people say their why. Why are they doing this? You know, that
Mhm.
what's kind of the end game, and what's the pursuit? Why are you doing this? And my why is the obvious, which is my family. But that's the first part. So the second part is uh I suffered a traumatic experience when I was really young, Chaz, and it stopped me from living. I entered into this depression stage.
Wow.
I didn't like being around people. I stayed away from big groups, stuff like that. And
Did it happen based on something that happened in life, or did it just kind of like came over you?
yeah, it was just something that happened, just a traumatic experience in life.
Got it.
Nothing to do with somebody or a specific person, just an event that happened in my life that just caused me just to shut people out, shut life out.
Yeah.
I mean, it was really deep, Chaz. I mean, it got to the point where I was contemplating suicide. I mean, I just did not want to live anymore.
Wow.
And I'm going a little bit deeper probably than I should, but this is just me being real. I'm just going to be completely honest and open and transparent here, Chaz. I hope that's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, man.
Just opening my heart here to your audience. So it wasn't until later on that I accepted Jesus into my heart, and I started kind of learning about who God made me to be.
Mhm.
And that's whenever this thing over my eyes was just lifted. And I realized it was the first time in life that I had realized, I am here for a purpose. I'm here to do something.
Yeah.
And I started searching that thing. And it didn't take me long to discover why I was here. And it was because I was here because I was meant to help other people. And there was actually something that happened that I was able to help a person in a certain situation. And it just felt so good to be used. I was like, wow, God, I actually do matter. You want me to help other people. And so after that,
Was that
I
the first like
discovered,
experience that you had around like the fulfillment of like what you said being used?
yes, yes, it was. And it felt good. It felt good to have a purpose in life, to actually be here for more than just myself.
Yeah.
Before that, I was I don't know if you've ever heard the me, myself, and I term.
Yeah.
I like to call it myselfers. He's a myselfer, or I'm a myselfer.
Uh-huh.
And so I was just in the victim mentality constantly, is just poor me, woe me. And after that event, it was like, it's not about me. It's about other people and just helping other people. And so through that, I realized that it's just people are important. Everybody's important.
Yeah.
And once I discovered that, it was just awesome. It was amazing just helping people. And here's what I discovered, Chaz, is that uh, and everybody has the same purpose, by the way. It's not just me, but my family needs me to succeed. My community needs me to succeed. This world needs me to succeed. And so it needs us, people like us, Chaz, to succeed so we can help other people. And so that's my two-part why
Yeah.
of what keeps pushing me, and it's my family and just helping other people.
Yeah,
So,
dude. I thank you for sharing, man. It I'm sure we could go rounds and rounds for hours on the impact and how that happened and how the Lord touched you and all that fun stuff. But I appreciate you giving even just a snippet of that. The reality or even just the language that you're using inside of Gathering the Kings, we use the language, going from warrior to king. And in that transition in the business world, it can obviously it's a similar thing that happens, in a man's life or in a spiritual walk. But in business specifically, going from warrior to king is, like think about a warrior. He's in battle. He has to protect himself. Maybe he's thinking about the guy on the left and right, maybe, but he's got blood on the sword. Like he's literally in it trying to survive, which is most likely where our listeners are today. They're in business, they're six figures, they're just trying to grind, they're just trying to take care of number one, which is okay. Like there's a stage where you have to be like that for a period of time. It has to be self-fulfilling, if you will. But at some point, you come to the realization where it's not just about that. It's about the team. It's about your family, buying back your time so your family can be, you can be with your family, about your community, your church, whatever you're involved with, because that's how a king thinks. It's not just about the battle today. It's about all these things, the community and the people around him that make the entire kingdom. And so without even you knowing it, you just were a poster child for the mentality of a king. So thank you for that. We appreciate that. Let's talk about how you got started, man. You obviously were in the military. Thank you for your service. We appreciate that as well. Why real estate? Why business? Why take a risk? Why not go get a job? What was entrepreneurial in you before? Like, how did it get started?
Sure. Well, to answer that question, I kind of need to give you some background, some history on my life. So my mom comes from Mexico. She was born and raised in Mexico. Like many other moms, she got pregnant at a really young age, got married at a really young age, and so she actually had my two older sisters, and then came to the U.S. And when she got to the U.S., I was not too far behind. She was pregnant with me as well. So
Yeah.
she got to the US and I just kind of put a damper on her plans, and she just worked extra hard. She was just this hard driven, hardworking woman, just determined to make things happen and make a better life for my two older sisters and I. And so she was just a driven woman. And so if I get it from somebody, it's from my mom. She's just so driven. And so she just kind of side notes here, but she used to go dumpster diving and find furniture and refurbish furniture on top of, working two or three jobs at a time. She
Bro,
was a
she
single.
was the original flipper.
Yes, she was.
That's how you learned it.
Yes. Yes. So I picked it up from her, just seeing things that needed some polishing, and just a
Wow,
little bit
dude.
of TLC and doing those things to make some money. So I get it from her, and then, she would always say or mention how I was so fortunate to have been born in the US because my two older sisters weren't. They were born in Mexico, and how I just had all these opportunities that were like a gift. All I have to do was step forward and take them. And she just kind of implemented into my thinking of, like, you can do this. You just have to do it.
Mm.
It's going to take some work, but you just got to do it because you can. And so kind of taking that all and looping it back to your original question, why real estate? And real estate was just one of the things that just kind of drew me. I mentioned how I purchased my first rental when I was really young. That was because of my mom. She used to say, renting is for poor people. Don't ever rent, which if you're renting, please don't take that the wrong way. It's just something that my mom used to say. But if,
There's a lot
so
of rich people that rent. So
yeah, absolutely. I rented too when I was in the military, but I bought my first house at a really young age because she said, don't rent, buy. And so I bought my first house, and then it became a rental after I joined the military. And so I was drawn to real estate from back then, but there was just all these benefits, I come to find out about, not having to pay taxes on certain things, because of real estate, just all these different benefits. And so, and then I also mentioned, I came across my first foreclosure and just pursued it. And it just seemed like a no brainer. And just taking everything that I learned from my mom and just everything that I had already knew about real estate, it just seemed like the right fit.
yeah.
And so jumped in it, and it's been amazing. I love real estate. There's just so many things you mentioned. There's just so many ways you can structure your business or real estate. You can go into different aspects of it, and you really can. So it doesn't matter if you go into short-term rentals or just plain and simple rentals or fix and flips or whatever the case may be. There's so many ways you can go get into real estate. You can become a real estate agent. I mean, there's just so many different aspects of it.
Right.
that, I mean, there's a piece that can fit for anybody if you want to,
Yeah.
have to want it. So
Yeah, well, I love the idea. Obviously, you're building a business, and real estate just happens to be your widget. So I want to ask you about some questions around how you've been building the business piece of it. But to your point, real estate can be a main business for someone, but another mindset of a king is that he takes the overflow and reinvests. So whether that's I own a retail franchise or multiple like I do, and I take money from that and I put it into real estate, or I own a contracting business and I take money from that and I put it into rentals, or I put it in a syndicate. Whatever I'm doing because I know that real estate or the stock market or whatever other types of investments are something that I need to pursue. I personally, like you, love the idea of real estate, real assets, the creativity of it. And also for me, it's another business. I love business so much. Real estate is just a widget, just like edible arrangements and just like, gathering the kings. That's just the widget of the actual business. So let's talk widget for a second. Let's talk good and bad decision. I want to know something that you did early on before you got to the, millionaire mark. I want to know something that you did that you can think back and it's like, boom, this one thing right here, that was the turning point.
sure. Well, I'll tell you this. Warren Buffett says that the number one rule in investing is don't lose money. Like that's the number one rule.
Right. That's right.
And guess what? When I first started, not long after I started, I lost money on a foreclosure, and it hurt. It was a lot of money. It was my personal money along with money that I had loaned or drawn a loan from. So it was a big punch in the gut. It took me 3 days to catch my breath,
Wow.
and it sucked, Chaz. It sucked big time. What happened was we ended up buying. This was kind of a last minute foreclosure that I went to
Okay.
at the courthouse steps, and I tried doing my due diligence, but I did it very fast because it was going on. They were doing the
Yeah.
auction within 20 minutes of me doing my due diligence. So thought I had all my ducks in a row and ended up purchasing the property, started working on the property. Then I get a letter in the mail saying that they're foreclosing on the property. I was like, what? Wait a minute. I just purchased this property. What the heck is going on? And so come to find out, what I did was I actually purchased the second lien on a house,
Oh,
and the first lien came up and
in priority.
it wiped the second lien out. And that is the one thing it a lot of people say, and this is true. A lot of people say you didn't lose money, especially at our level. You didn't lose money. It was just an expensive education class.
That's right.
Just,
That's right.
just, you just took the hard way to learn this, and you paid a lot of money to learn it. So I did. I paid a lot of money to learn this lesson, due diligence, and I didn't really have a system in place. And so, it took me 3 days, but I got back up, Chaz. I dusted myself off. I went back to the drawing board and I said, how can I bulletproof my business? How can I make this into a successful business? Because I don't have a business. I just have an idea of a business.
Right.
And so I started researching about people who have been doing this for a long time and their proven success stories and what they were doing and the systems and processes they had in place and all that good stuff. And it was consistent across the board. Is one thing is that they had systems and processes in place. They had people in place. They had things in place, documents in place, and just all these different things that allowed them to run a successful business. And that's one thing I didn't have. I just, flew from the seat of my pants and just went for it. But it wasn't until after this event that I really just buckled down and said, I'm going to build a business. So we did. I went all in. If it was a poker game, I would have just taken all my chips and said, I'm going all in. And, if I go, I'm going to go out in blazing glory because, I'm just going to lose. And I doubled down, and it was the best thing I ever did. I invested money into education. I invested money into coaches, invested money into just all these mastermind groups and stuff like that. And it paid off because now we're, here we are. this was year 1 that this happened. Here we are year 4, and we're doing great. We surpassed the numbers. If I would have stayed in that old business mindset, we would have been doing between 3 and 5 flips per year,
Sure.
but we surpassed that because of that event. So it was kind of a blessing in disguise. It truly was. And I'm happy for it.
Yeah.
It pushed me to change things around. So
Yeah. Your
yeah,
perspective of paying for the education as the oops. You used the words systems and process quite a bit, and then you basically said, "I went all in," which meant for you investing in yourself in some masterminds and some coaches. But what you got from those things were these tangibles, these walk away system process, these checklists for lack of better terms. What were some of those things that when you paid the money to the coach and when you paid the money to the mastermind, when you got into that room, what were some of the tangibles that you walked away with that then now gave you a quote unquote business as opposed to an idea?
sure. So some of the tangibles were researching my market. And another thing was I had to move away from the mentality of foreclosures. I had to go directly to sellers is what I needed to do. So I learned how to market to sellers. So marketing was one piece, actually physically marketing to sellers.
Yeah.
And then tracking that information, my numbers, I'm sure you've talked about KPIs on your show, KPIs, key performance indicators. What are those numbers? What kind of phone calls are you getting? Because if you're not getting phone calls, it's not working. Or if,
Right.
if the numbers are down, maybe your marketing piece is down. So looking at my KPIs, what they were and what's working, what's not, and just tracking all that information. And for some people, when I started, it was just an Excel spreadsheet. And then you kind of go up from an Excel spreadsheet, but
Sure.
just tracking all that information down on whatever platform you have. It could
Yeah.
be as Excel or it could be Word document, whatever the case may be, or a piece of paper, and just growing from there. So those were some of the things without giving my whole business away,
Sure.
um, of what I started doing that really worked for me. So
Yeah. I love some of the pieces there. I want to pull out a couple of things that you said and generalize it for the listener. But number one, you said to figure out your avatar. That was you switching from foreclosure to sellers. You had to figure out, okay, where's the best deal for me? Who does that person look like? And so for you running a construction business, there's a specific client. They make a certain amount of money. They live in a certain area. There's a specific type of project that they like to have done that you can do really, really good. And that's who you need to identify so you can go after them. Or if you run a marketing business and you're marketing to real estate guys or to retail franchises, you got to figure out who that person really is. That's the avatar. That's what he just did. He figured out the foreclosure was not his avatar. And so this person over here is, how do I dial in and how do I reach them? That was what I said, is about marketing. So you've got to dial in the avatar so that you can dial in your marketing so that you can fill the pipeline. And that's where you came in with the KPIs. You said, if you're not getting calls or if you're not getting leads or if there's no action happening, then some of those front things aren't working. And you've got to be able to hone those things in so that obviously on the back end, you can sell your product or get deals, close new projects, whatever the widget is. Anything you want to add there?
no, you hit the nail on the head, Chaz. That's really good. Yeah, just figuring out what your avatar is. For me, this is specific to me. Everybody's avatar is going to be different, but specific to me, we're looking for either distressed sellers or distressed homes. And there's kind of the first time home buyer style home and going to be in a certain price range
Mhm.
and they're looking to sell right away. If it's a nicer house and it's not going to really fit our avatar. Why are they going to sell us their house when they can just list it for with a realtor and sell it for more money?
Right.
So yeah, I mean, absolutely everything you just said is spot on.
Yep. Hey, kings and queens, Chaz Wolfe. I want to talk to you about something that's super important to me. We put a lot of time and effort, we meaning myself and my team, into this podcast, into the content that goes out every single day. And if you have been getting any sort of value or insight from this, we want it to be able to reach other business owners too. So we would love if you would like, comment, share, leave a review, post, share again, all of the things on social media, on all the different platforms, or even on the podcast mediums of Apple and Spotify. We would love to be able to get our content into more hands, more entrepreneurs, so they can grow their business as quick as possible. Together, we are building a community of like-minded entrepreneurs who are committed to growing their businesses to new heights. So let's do this. Let's help each other. Let's help each other grow. Love it. Okay. And you kind of mixed your good and bad decision kind of all together, but I want to know, is there maybe another bad decision that you can share with us, a story that you can give us the juicy details of?
Another bad decision. Has ever since that first bad decision, it's been tough to make other bad decisions.
Yeah.
Let's see.
It was profound. It scared you into making good decisions.
I will say this other thing that we did, and not necessarily a bad decision because we knew going into it, we bought this house. It should have, I mean, it was basically should have been torn down. And once my wife, we purchased it, we're gonna flip it and just a full gut job. Once my wife and I discovered this is before we go in, before our crew goes in and starts rehabbing it, I do my numbers and calculations and it turns out it's going to take a lot more money than we anticipated. My wife and I sat down and said, we can either break even or possibly lose money, or we can just make our community better. If we lose money, it's fine because we can make our community better. And so we chose the latter, and we chose to lose money intentionally because it was going to definitely just make our community better, make that street better.
Sure.
It was just going to push us to a next level. In a way, we also did it as kind of a marketing piece because we just blew that house up on social media and everything we were doing and what we could do, our capabilities. I mean, we've come so far, Chaz, that we can literally build a house from scratch. I mean, our crew can do that. So not that I would want to do that, but we have the ability to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's not necessarily a bad decision, but just a tough decision that we had to make. And everybody's going to be in a situation. Everybody's going to come across a situation where it's like, hopefully it's not like my first bad decision where it's kind of just punches you in the gut, but sometimes you'll be faced with those situations. And the obvious answer, kind of like Warren Buffett says, just don't lose money. But sometimes it's just good just to give back. For us, it didn't cost a whole lot more.
Yeah.
But it's just good just to do some of those things, especially if you're in a good financial situation that you can do those things. If you can't afford it, don't do it, obviously. So, yeah.
Yeah. I think the lesson there that I'm hearing is obviously to make it about your mission, not necessarily the money. For
Right.
you, I can only assume that in a fixing flipping business that you have this part of your mission is to restore neighborhoods and build back a community, because that's literally what we do as guys that come in and rehab properties. Like it's bringing it back to its full potential, like all of those like really warm and heartfelt things. But you had the opportunity to put that on display because it literally wasn't about the money in that situation. So what was the end result? Like, I mean, you said you blew it up on social media. Was people like just know this house from now until forever? Like, tell us about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is by far the best house we have done. It's the nicest. I mean, it's pretty much a brand new house with the exception of the shell of this house. And we sold it before we finished it.
Wow.
And we sold it to a couple. They actually don't even live in it. They use it as a kind of a vacation house because one of their parents lives here in the local area. They don't.
Sure.
So they purchased it before we were finished with it. And I mean, it's a young couple. They just had a baby, which is the perfect family that we wanted to sell it to. It's a smaller house, nothing extravagant or big or anything like that. And it's just, I mean, the whole house is brand new and it is so nice. I mean, it's just a house that I would move into right now. It's super nice. We went above and beyond with just like granite countertops and super nice cabinets. And, in the bathroom, we put this mirror that has the lights, the LED lights that turn on behind it, and anti-fog thing to keep the mirror from fogging up when you're taking a shower. Super nice floors and tile throughout the house. I mean, it's just a super, super nice house.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just to kind of paint the picture. It's got a black roof, white siding with the brown pillars in the front, posts in the front with the king and queen decorative posts above the, what do they call that?
A little
Uh,
pergola or archway.
yeah, a little archway pergola thing in front of the porch. And so, yeah, it's super nice with a large, big deck in the backyard,
That's
back of the
awesome.
house. So, yeah.
I just love the heart behind it, and being able to really stand next to a mission statement, I think is really, really cool as well. I think also too, the lesson for these guys listening is like, there's going to be things that we do in business that we get into it, whether it's a project, whether it's working with a client. Now, I'm going to guess that you probably didn't sign up for too many more of those, or at least not that year, at least maybe one more. But the reality is is that you can do things like this that stick to the feel good piece of business, especially if it brings in your team and it makes it about more than the money. All of those are very beneficial, but at the same time, you're running a business, and so you learned through that process of maybe how that project didn't fit into the buy box, if you will, or the avatar. So I want that to walk away with the listener here is that sometimes we can get into a scenario where we lose money on a deal. I think we've all lost money on a deal. Some a lot of money. I've lost a lot of money on a few deals. But I'll tell you what I learned in those scenarios is something that I carry with me. So just as you painted the picture of the expensive education, as long as you're taking that approach, and you make the change, right? Like you can't learn it and then not make the change, you know? Don't repeat the bad mistake over and over. So, anything else you want to add there?
No, yeah, that's right on. Just, yeah, it's all about the heart. I mean, giving back. And, I'll mention this, Chaz, is I hear this a lot from on social media, and you've seen this too, where a lot of people say, the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. And what they don't see and they don't hear about is people who really truly give back. The people who are in positions who give back, and they don't see those things. They don't hear about them. But honestly, I mean, I've been around the most generous people who are multimillionaires that give and don't ever say a word about it. They just let people talk and say whatever they want, including myself. I really don't broadcast what I give away financially because some people just don't get it and don't understand. So I just don't say anything. My wife and I are big time givers. We've partnered with probably 4 or 5 different organizations, charities and stuff. And we just monthly just give money into these different charities and organizations, just not because we have to, but because we want to. We want to give back. We want to keep growing to a position financially that we can continue to give more and more and more. That's aside from tithing. We want to be able to give 20, 30, 40% of our income away. I mean, how awesome is that to be so rich that you're giving most of your money away because you just have too much of it?
Yeah.
And that to me is success. That is what I want to do. That is the definition for me to be successful, is that I've succeeded and I have all this, money or whatever time that I can give it back, give it away for free to people and organizations and things that matter. So,
Yeah, I love that perspective. I had a buddy like 2 weeks or so ago shoot me an email. He actually copied me on he had come across a scenario through one of his family friends of a ministry that was needing some things as a ministry in Africa, and they were needing a few like very tangible things. And he copied me in saying, "Hey, I'm giving 1,000. Chaz will match me." But it's a great friend of mine, and he like, bro, if you're in, I'm in. You don't need to ask my permission. Although he did ask, it was a implied yes. And so of course I responded. I'm like, yes, of course, let me know. And he texted me later saying, "Hey man, thanks for being supportive and stuff like that. How cool is it that you know just a little bit of extra money and it goes a really long way." My response to him was, "Dude, I can't wait for it to be 1 million." Right? Like,
that's
well, who cares about the 1,000? Like, where can we put 1 million? Like let's just put a couple more zeros on it. So that idea of building unto influencing in that way, I think is a unique perspective, and I think that the listener, I think, can appreciate it at least. I hope that they take it away and think about it. I want to switch over to our speed round. I want to ask you a couple questions here, some business related questions. Since we've kind of gone several different directions, I appreciate you being vulnerable. If you could dwindle your entire business down to one trackable metric, what would it be?
That's a tough one. That was a really tough one, Chaz. The obvious
Come
answer I
on,
want
Lou.
to say is the obvious answer I want to say is my P&L, because off your P&L, you can track different things. And if I had to kind of narrow it down even more, if I had to really just, if there was one thing on the P&L that I would have to choose, I would say marketing. Marketing would be the biggest piece. I feel like marketing, that's where you're putting your dollars in front and ensuring that there's leads coming in.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Without any
but
leads, you have no deals.
that's right. If you don't have leads, there's no money.
That's right. Good stuff. Okay. What book would you recommend that a six-figure business owner read who's trying to get to your level?
Before I say these, Chaz, I'm gonna preface this really quick. I think it's so important that people read books on subjects where they're at right now in life. So if you're brand new, you have no idea about business, you should be reading about things to grow your knowledge, smaller things on how to run a business or what those things look like before you dial into like KPIs, what are KPIs and all these other things that are kind of high level things. Also, I want to mention that it's important to read a book, especially if it's a good book, two times or more. The first time you're reading a book is just to kind of get a base knowledge for the book. And then the second time is really to extract valuable information, retain more of the information. So for me, I read every book I read is a minimum of two times. If it's really good, anywhere between 3 and 5 times. I recently read a book not too long ago about, I read it 4 times because it was that good. It was just it was where I was in life, right at that point in my business. And that it was just something I need to kind of continue to read and digest until I was implementing it. And what I was doing is I was reading it and then going to work and implementing it, reading it and then implementing it. So, so yeah, so I wanted just to say that really quick. But as far as books go, I want to say, obviously, I'm sure everybody's heard this, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I'm going to go really quick if that's okay.
Yeah. We'll list them all in the show notes. So don't worry.
Rich Dad, Poor Dad, the E-Myth, 7 Habits of Highly Successful Effective People, Traction, pretty much all the Zig Ziglar books, The Go-Giver, Mr. Schmooze, the 10X Rule, Extreme Ownership, and Profit First. And I could go
Wow.
on, but those are just probably some of my favorites.
That's a phenomenal list. I want to ask you about the Go-Giver. What's your takeaway about the Go-Giver?
Just always being in a position just to be able to give. Gosh, it's such a great book. It's been about a year since I read it, but it had such an impact on me. It's such a great book.
Yeah, there's a different spirit. Obviously it's a play on words behind go-getter, right? And not that the go get. I mean, I pride myself in being a go-getter, like being initiative, and
Right.
ambitious. But to be a go-giver, as you've already described, that's obviously I'm playing on our previous words already in the show, but the spirit that's behind a giver, it sees people, because if you don't see people, you can't be a giver,
Right.
right? Which probably goes back to faith for guys like you and I, because like if I'm genuine about me being seen, right, from a perspective of being saved, right, then who am I not to be able to see other people, like genuinely see them as real people that have hurts, that have a story, that have a background, and that spirit of seeing people like genuinely, um, it should open you up, right? To want to give, right?
Absolutely. I say anybody who's making fi- financially in a financial position that you're no longer struggling and you're making 6 figures, you got to read that book. Everybody who hasn't read it is missing out. I mean, truly. The more, and here's the thing, Chaz, the more you give, it's crazy. The more you give, the more you get. And you shouldn't do it with that intention, but
That's how it
it's
works.
just one of those principles in the Bible that the more you give, the more you get. It's crazy the way it works. People are
Yeah,
attracted to people who give. And so the more you give, the more people just want to help you out. So,
yeah,
yeah.
so true. All right. Well, so you've already answered my next question, which is, do you network or mastermind with other entrepreneurs? So why don't you tell me why? You already said that you got some practical, tactical mindset tips. Anything else you want to add around a benefit of networking, being around, or even masterminding with other entrepreneurs?
Chaz, it just such a good feeling being around other like-minded individuals, especially in our world. Once you get to a certain level, you kind of cap out, and some people like myself, when I was flipping, I just felt lonely. And when you're around these other people, it's just such a great feeling. You can bounce ideas, and you can network, and you can just grow as a person when you're around these people. So I highly recommend anybody who's listening to this, if you're not part of a mastermind or a group where you're with like-minded individuals, you need to join a group or a mastermind. Only then will you really tap into more of your potential, because you're going to cap out. Everybody reaches a certain level, and you just can't go any further.
Yep.
It's hard to. You can. It's just really hard to, and it's not until you're around other people that you're like, wow, if that person can do more deals, and I'm over here doing these deals, like, why am I not doing more? And it opens you up to more, to being able
Yeah.
to do more, pushes you more.
Yeah, it makes me think of I'm working with a marketing company, and they're doing a little bit of research on some of the guys that are in the Gathering the Kings mastermind, and trying to get a feel for who they are, how they think, that type of thing. And what you just said, it makes perfect sense, because the opposite. Sometimes when you're identifying who your avatar is, you identify who they're not, right? So that way you know who not to talk to or who not to market to. And one of the main things is, I don't want to talk to a business owner who doesn't want more, or who doesn't want to reach for their potential. That potential piece is when you know there's more. You may not have all the answers. You may not know the exact steps. Someone else probably does, but that desire, that greater desire, has to be bigger inside of you than meh or contentment or I think I'm good. And that's everything that you just described, is that you can't get past that place unless you have the desire, but then also obviously getting around other people. So thank you for that.
Yeah, no
What
problem.
if you had only 1 hour to work on your business each week? How would you use that 1 hour to successfully run your business like you do now?
Oh, that's a tough one, Chaz. I would say it would be a combination of my people, checking on my team, because really your business, once you start hiring people, people are really the most important part of a business. It's the people. Just so I would say probably checking in on the people and making sure they're all doing good, and trying to make the time outside of that hour, personal time, to connect with those people, make sure they're all doing good. And then obviously just checking in. I'll probably just be checking in on the P&L and making sure that the numbers look good. If not, tweaking those numbers and
Making
figuring out
adjustments.
what's going wrong, and adjust from there, try to dial those in. So yeah.
Yep. Love it. Okay. Last question for you, Lou. If you lost it all, my friend, what would you do?
Chaz, I would smile. It would hurt. Don't get me wrong. It would suck, but I would smile, and I would get back up, dust myself off, and do it all over again. Yeah.
Awesome. Do you know now that there's this confidence that you have about doing it just because you've already done it, or because you've already made the mistakes? Like, I'm just kind of trying to relate it to the person right now who's listening. They don't have to give up everything. They don't have to lose everything. But you're saying that you would like double back. For them, like, how is that applicable today? Is it because they've already done these things? What gives them the confidence like you have right now?
Wha if you lose everything, it's because, one, you haven't started and you just lost everything, or two, you started and you got pretty far ahead, and then you lost everything. Either way, you're gonna be the same person. Either you're at the starting line, or you're past the starting line. If you're past the starting line, you've gained some kind of knowledge, some kind of information, and you're no longer the same person like you were from the starting point. So if you've gained some kind of information, it's just going back to the drawing board and just implementing everything you've learned, and it's just gonna and just 10xing all those things, just hitting it hard, and just going back to work. So
Yep.
yeah, I don't think it would be too hard for anybody to start over again. I think it would be more getting past that psychological part of, oh man, I got to do it all over again. Do I really want to? But once you get past that, I mean, just do it over again. Cause in essence, I did, my first year, I got not too far away from the starting point, but I had to go right back to the starting point where I started
Yeah.
and do it all over again. And not only did I have to restart, but I had to revamp my whole business. I had to reconstruct the whole thing because it just wasn't working, and then implement it. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, Lou, you've been incredibly valuable here today. How can a listener reach out to you? They want to get to know you better. They want to maybe do a deal with you. How can they find you?
Sure. You guys they can reach me on Facebook, luis.talamantes.7. That's my Facebook, direct Facebook link. And then on Instagram, I'm on there as well. Same thing as Facebook, just Instagram in the front of that. Or they can email me to my personal email address, Luis, Luis .tman@yahoo.com. If I've said anything on your show or your podcast, Chaz, that's related to anybody listening, and you guys you want more information and you want to dig deeper, or you feel like I could help you add value to your business, please reach out to me. I'm just simple guy. I'm always available to talk, especially business. So yeah. So anytime.
Guys like you and I eat it for breakfast, right? We eat it for breakfast, lunch, dinner. We do it again and again and again.
Absolutely.
We love it. We love it. So, Lou, thank you so much for being here today and adding value. We wish you nothing but success in all that you're doing, my man. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Chaz. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for listening to Gathering the Kings today. I hope that you were able to pull out a few nuggets to go apply into your business right away. More importantly, though, I hope that you're realizing that it takes more to be successful than just being by yourself, doing it all on your own, carrying the weight all by yourself. What I have realized, not only in my own journey from multiple businesses and multiple different industries, and now interviewing over 200 or 300 other very successful 7, 8, and 9-figure business owners, is that it's tough to do it alone. And so Gathering the Kings exists to bring together successful entrepreneurs. In fact, we are putting together 1,000 kings, specifically who are grateful but not done. We're intentionally assembling kings who fight tooth and nail for their business, family, and communities. And here's what we believe, that in the pursuit of excellence in those areas, that it ignites within us the responsibility to govern power and forge a lasting legacy. So if that relates and resonates with you, and you know that you need people around you, sharp, qualified, other very successful business owners, I want you to go to gatheringthekings.com. I want you to take a look at what we're doing and see if it makes sense for you to be part of our pursuit to 1,000 kings. Talk soon.